Without further ado, please welcome Meagan McGinnes and Becky the Man Lynch.
The man has come around to Boston!
Wow, that was a first. I don't normally get that kind of welcome when I go on stage, so thank you all for coming. I'm Meagan McGinnes, as Candace just was saying. Let's get going because you are here to hear from Becky. So, yes. So, it's been a whirlwind few weeks for you. Let's be real here. You're headed to WrestleMania 40 to challenge Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship next weekend. Yeah. You had a... Yeah.
She's done.
You had a wild last women's standing match on March 18th that people cannot stop talking about. You met the president. You launched your book. You became a U.S. citizen.
I also faked a lockup. This is something that I haven't talked about. I faked a lockup with the president. We were making small talk, and I was like, oh, yeah. And then I was like, oh, what am I doing? There's Secret Service everywhere.
Yeah. Both your security go on.
Yeah, but it was funny because I went into the White House and the Secret Service were everywhere. But they were wearing these like waistcoat things that said Secret Service on it. And I was like, this is the worst kept secret I've ever seen. You guys suck.
So with all of those things happening, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go, man. It's been awesome. I haven't gotten to be out and meet people, I suppose in general, but do signings and talk to the fans and the people that made my life worth writing about. And so it's really been mind-blowing and incredible to get the support from all you fine folk and very, very humbling. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so in preparation for tonight, I've been learning a lot about wrestling. So if
It's fun, isn't it?
It's, oh my God, so fun.
It's so fun.
If I ask a follow-up that sounds like I'm new to WWE, that's because I am, especially with the terminology. But as a new fan, I am so jazzed to be here because I love seeing badass women athletes in male-dominated sports. I love seeing fellow ladies break down barriers for those behind them. And I really love meeting fellow storytellers. So you've had a few characters before you landed on the man. I want to know, what's your creative process when building a character and storylines?
How will I not get fired? That's how it kind of started. When I came in, it was a different era. It was a different now people are more like humans than when I came in. It was a very charactery when I came into NXT, and I was just throwing shit at the wall. Let's see what sticks here. And we would do these promo classes with Dusty Rhodes, and every week it was like a variety show. It was so cool. Like everybody would come up and they would have like raps and they would have skits and they would have sketches, and I would just do these wacky off the wall things. Like I was like a little old lady. I don't know how I thought that would translate to a wrestling ring. And like a fortune teller gypsy, and I was a just anything. And surprisingly, none of them stuck. Until I made my wonderful, amazing, incredible NXT debut, one for the ages, where I came out doing a really, really, really bad Irish jig and thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a moneymaker. Main event of WrestleMania. Here I come, gonna jig all the way down that WrestleMania aisle. And then I woke up a few days later and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? It was also like I couldn't blame it on youth. I was 27, you know, and I was like, it wasn't just like a little kid thing. I was like, oh, I am a full-grown woman out there not having a clue that I have just embarrassed myself, my family, my country, everyone who's ever known me, humankind in general. And so then I started to think, like, what else? What is it about me? What am I? Okay, I'm a little grunger, so let me come out and be a little rocker girl, and I'll like headbang and scream at random intervals whenever I feel uncomfortable. And so I did that for a while. And that wasn't a moneymaker either, shockingly. And so then I came across like steampunk and that look. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And they're kind of quirky, and I'm a little quirky. And then it kind of fit. And then from there, I just kind of meandered and tried to figure it out. And then just failed constantly, really, until it came to the point where WWE weren't doing anything with me, and I was getting progressively more annoyed with it. And then the man was born. The man was born out of frustration. And so sometimes, you know, in life we get frustrated about things, and we get annoyed about it, and that's good. You know, that's good. That drives us. It gives us a fire in our belly, and that's what the man is and was.
Yeah. No, and I think the joke about not getting fired does have like it feels like some truth to it, because in your book,
there was a lot.
Yeah, in your book you have
of
some
truth,
head-to-heads with sometimes about wanting to stay true to kind of the creative in your vision. So just how do you balance staying true to who your character is and also playing within the storyline that you're given?
Oh yeah.
Starting with the easy questions.
Oh
you know?
my goodness! Because sometimes you're like, wait, what? You want me to do? Huh? And you can try and pivot, and what I usually do is find a way to justify whatever it is, whatever the ask of me is. Like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but how do I make it make sense, and how, or what things that don't line up, how can I cover for that? Okay, I'm not allowed to say this in a promo. How do I cover for that on social media or something, or have some line of truth in a promo to justify whatever is being asked of me?
Well, that makes complete sense.
Does it?
It does.
Okay.
It does. We have parameters in journalism that we have to write around. You just got to play within the box.
Yeah.
So you've grown as both an athlete and a performer, and a big part of that growth has to do with developing signature moves. So we want to play one of your signature moves right now and take a look at it. Can we roll the clip?
Take advantage, no surprise there. Manhandle slam. Taking the risks even higher. 1 second. Manhandle slam. Get her an early pinfall. Here it is. Manhandle slam. That Baker tips away. Almost there. Becky, smart manhandle slam.
So tell us how that came to be.
I invented it. I didn't. I just robbed it from The Rock. Yeah. He was doing really well with it, but he wasn't using it anymore. So I was like, I'll take it from you now. But now he's back. It was when I came back after having my daughter, and I was going to beat Bianca Belair in one move. I'm sorry. And I usually use the submission move, but I wanted to hit her with something that we could just pin her real quick. And so I had used a modified version of the rock bottom, but it was kind of tricky to get into. So I just called The Rock and said, "Can I use it?" And he said, "Of course," because he's a legend.
He is a legend. He is. And we actually have some audience questions about moves, too. So one person from the audience has asked, what is the scariest move to take?
Ooh. I'll tell you what move I don't take is an Alabama slam, because it just looks like, yeah, I've got a little dainty neck, you know. We don't need that. Yeah. Other than that, any kind of a power bomb sucks. It just sucks.
They all look painful.
Yeah, you know, a lot of them are very painful. Yeah, but that one sucks.
So you fought like hell to be the man, to be where you are in your career, and it wasn't always easy. So I want to play another clip with what can only be described as part of the Becky Lynch folklore. Specifically, this is near the beginning of you becoming the man.
What is this?
Rousey and not her.
This is a horrific scene.
Another steel chair shot right across the already injured arm of the Raw Women's Champion. SmackDown has obliterated Monday Night Raw.
We had to get to the finishing pose. It's just like you have to hold it.
I mean, I thought we were going to go all the way to the... We've gone that far.
So tell me a little bit about what we just saw and how that shaped, how that was a pivotal moment in becoming the man.
I was already the man. I think that's the thing that people forget, is that I kind of adopted the... I adopted the moniker the man about a month before that, but everybody attributes that to the moment that I became the man. And actually, you'll read about it in my book, but I attribute that to the beginning of god-awful booking. You know, like, because everybody, thankfully, remembers it with rose-colored glasses and like, oh, she got her nose busted open and then she was a big star and then she main evented WrestleMania. Lads, on the way, it was terrible. Like, the creative was awful. Like, they had me yelling at Stephanie McMahon, who was being really nice to me in the ring, and I was supposed to be the babyface. And then I just attacked her. Like, she's like, I'm just worried about you getting hurt. And I'm like, screw you, bitch. You know? It was so bad. Anyway, so that happened. And then everybody loved me. And then I won the main event of WrestleMania, and it was all great. No, but it was a really cool image, and I can't remember what happened there at all. Don't remember, like, wiping off my blood and flicking it at people. That's gross. I was completely out of it. Sorry, that's disgusting. If I'm sitting in the front row, but it was, in wrestling, there's a few iconic pictures, you know. I think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania with blood coming down to his face and the sharpshooter, and you think of CM Punk sitting there doing his pipe bomb promo, and through absolutely no doing of my own, I ended up in that quasi iconic photos of wrestling. Thank you, Nia Jax, I suppose.
Okay.
The one and only time I'll say that.
Okay, I'm going to take us back for a second. During the early years, you had ups and downs with wrestling, the fickleness of the crowd, some family things going on, and you started to have a hard time with your own self-worth and imposter syndrome. And that started to channel into issues with food and your appearance. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. Where do you find your self-worth now, beyond the crowds and appearance?
So I think early on, there wasn't really much fickleness, I suppose, in terms of the crowd. It's kind of, and I mean this with all respect, you just tend to change your mind a little bit. Sure, look, don't we all? But once you're a top baby face and you've given everything, it's all right. Well, now we want somebody else to get a spot, which fair enough. I love it. We love it. Keep us on our toes. It's very exciting. But in finding my self-worth, I think, God, being a mother really kind of changed a lot of that for me, because especially in terms of body image, because I was no longer worried about whether I had an extra pound or whether my whatever didn't look the way I wanted it to look, and started thinking like, wow, my body can make the humor. I can do some cool stuff with it. Like I was already doing cool stuff with it. You know, I was going out there 52 weeks a year on the road, wrestling, doing some crazy stuff. But then I made a human, and I was like, I'm God. and so I think so that really curtailed a lot of my body image issues, and then finding my own self-worth. Look, sometimes negativity helps me a little bit, you know, like sometimes I'm like, oh no, why did they say that? But most of the time I'm like, oh, screw you, you don't think I can do it, I'll show you. You know.
I fully feel that. We do have a question from the audience. What's your advice for someone who struggles with mental illness or their own inner demons?
Gosh, well, I suppose I can only speak to my own experience with that, and especially after I had my daughter, I went through a pretty rough stage of postpartum depression, and really it was talking to people, it was asking for help. I'm a big asker for help. I like to tell people how I'm feeling. If I'm being a little bit of a jerk and I don't know why, I like to own it and say it. And if I'm just sad and I can't get out of it, I like that to find help wherever I can, and whether that be a therapist or a friend or a family member or a boss. Like I even at one stage I went up to Triple H in the middle of it, and I was like, look, I'm having a real hard time. So if I'm a bit of an asshole, I apologize. And then he said, if you're going to be in this business, you have to be a bit of an asshole. and was very kind to me. And so I think understanding your limitations and knowing when to take a break, but knowing also sometimes that you have to get busy, because sometimes getting busy maybe might take you out of it a little bit too. But that's just me. I like to keep moving.
That feels like a good. We had a conference, and they had like a work-life algorithm, and it wasn't about balance. It was like exactly what you needed, and sometimes it's rest, and sometimes it's movement. So I feel like I very much can identify with that. Let's go a little bit to you talked about being a mom, but I want to talk about other barriers that you've been breaking down in this sport for a while. You are part of a group of women that were the first ever to main event WrestleMania. You won both the Raw Women's Championship and SmackDown Women's Championship, making you the first woman to hold both titles simultaneously. I'm just gonna read your resume basically. 6-time WWE Women's Champion. And you are up for a new contract this summer, which could potentially make you the highest paid woman in wrestling ever. That's pretty darn cool. So those are some big wins, not only for you, but women in wrestling. And that brings me to this. What does true equity in the wrestling industry look like to you?
It's equality, right? And that's what I've always been fighting for. Like, it's not making a big fuss out of, oh, the women are getting that, the women are getting this. It's this star who is good is getting this, you know? And I've just always wanted the gender talk to kind of be out of the equation. Like, it needs to be based on merit and what we can do and what we can bring, and telling stories, and not treating it differently. Like I think some of the things that, and we've changed so much, right? Like, we have changed so much, but it's down to the little things. Like you look at like a WrestleMania card, and you look at like, okay, we have the women's championship matches, but then beyond that, we don't have any storyline driven matches, but that doesn't happen on the men's side of things. You know what I mean? Like, I imagine we'll get there. It looks like we're getting there with Bianca Belair and stuff like that. But of course, Bianca Belair, she will get a match on WrestleMania. But of course, she should have a match on WrestleMania. And we're, a week out? And so far, she doesn't. Unless, wait, what time is it? Maybe she does now. But my point is, is that we don't always need a championship to fight for, because the guys always don't need a championship to fight over, you know? And so we need to be looking at those things and making sure that we're booking our stars the way we book our stars. Like, we book our female stars the way we book our male stars. You know?
I do. No, and I know it's not about championships. However, we do have an audience question that I think is fun. When will a woman be the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion?
So, here's the question. Why would that be better? And that's the point, right? Like, that we go, oh, the woman should win the men's title, and that's better. Why is that better? That shouldn't be better. Having the World Women's Championship should be the main title. You know?
I love that. So I'm going to, there's one other thing that's been in the headlines that I feel like we have to talk about. So longtime WWE leader Vince McMahon has been in the headlines recently after a lawsuit was filed by a former employee alleging sex trafficking and abuse by him and others at the company. Vince was a really present character throughout your career and in your book, which is why I felt like we had to talk about it. Do you think WWE is still making the progress that you've pushed for throughout your career for creating safe spaces for athletes to grow?
Yes, 100%. And I'll kind of talk about, one, we have incredible leaders at the helm. Like, Triple H has always been amazing. And the way we got this women's revolution, which I also talk about in the book as being, oh God, lads, do you remember that? It was awful. But it was like a marketing ploy. But it happened, one, because people saw what Triple H was doing in NXT, which was just booking us like stars and letting us wrestle and giving us time and giving us storylines. And shockingly, we could wrestle and we could have storylines and we could have characters and people would care. And then it was because of that, then the hashtag Give Divas a Chance thing came up, and then they marketed it so classically old school WWE and turned it into a thing. And so the culture that I grew up in wrestling, when I came in, there was like, women can't punch and women can't do this and move like a girl, and I didn't understand any of that. But working under Triple H, nothing but respect. When I came in, I've only ever felt treated with respect, and so that's why it's so hard for me to hear these, because as a woman who's always pushing for equality and for us to be treated well and with respect, and then you hear this and you hear this experience that this woman has gone through, and it's with somebody who's you've only known to be respectful of you, and it's horrible, and there's like this weird guilt, and I don't know this woman, but you know, and there's all these emotions that go through your head, and it's tough. But I suppose my point is to answer the question that you asked, do I think WWE is pushing towards us? Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I really appreciate your thoughtful answer on that too. That I think that it's a tough time right now, and that.
Look, it's one of those things where I've been asked about it a lot, and I wish I had like a better answer, and I kind of don't, because it's just like, how do you? These allegations are horrible. They're horrible. You know, and it's by somebody that, you know, that you look at and go, well, God, if they didn't have this company, then we wouldn't have this. And it's a weird thing where you almost separate the two, but you can't. So, yeah.
Thank you for answering that. There is another relationship that you mentioned a decent amount in the book that I also wanted to talk a little bit about. Your relationship with Charlotte Flair. It's something that carries throughout the book, and there's a real roller coaster there in terms of friendship and then kind of falling out of that. Where does your relationship with Charlotte stand today?
I think it's good. I think it's look, nowhere near to where we were. But I will say, like, even through the ups and downs, the underlying thing was love, right? Like, there's she was very much like a sister to me when we were on the road, and I think that's why each of us was more hurt when we fell out, you know, because the opposite of hate isn't love, and the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference, and there was always just that like rage and that animosity, because I think the undercurrent of it all was love. But I think at the end of the day, if she needed anything, I'd be there. I think if I needed anything, she'd be there.
Love hearing that. And you know what? We don't like talk about friendship breakups a lot in society. We talk about like the sadness of other or difficulties in relationship, but like friendship ones hurt a lot too.
They do, but you learn from them too. Like, don't you? You know, like, so now I'm just a big communicator, whereas before I was just like, you're upset about that? No big deal, not my problem, you know? But now it's like, okay, well, let's talk about it so that it doesn't get out of hand.
You mentioned Dusty Rhodes earlier and how he kind of was able to mentor you as you were kind of going through characters. Can you talk a little bit about just how he and other people from those early days kind of helped to shape your career?
Oh man, Dusty was great. Dusty was amazing. He's just a little bit of magic to him, you know, and he would tell these stories and you were never sure if they were true or not, but they were entertaining as hell. And he just had no judgment to him. He had no judgment. He welcomed everybody. And it didn't matter how they look, because it didn't matter how Dusty looked. He had that spark, he had that self-belief. And so he would spot that in people, and he could see things in people that nobody else could. Nobody else could. The man tweeted when I wasn't doing anything remarkable at all that one day I would be one of the top 5 people to come out of NXT, which I'm sure everybody looked at and went, okay, Dusty's losing it, you know, probably me included. And but he saw something, and he was just so kind, and there was a lot of, you know, and also in NXT at that time, it was tough, man. It was so tough, and you were always worried that you were gonna get fired. And there was something about that, like when you survived it, like you really felt tough, and it hardened you, almost in like a good way. Like it was like a mental thing. But it was like it was rough at that time. But then there was the people that came in that were so kind, like Robbie Brookside and William Regal, and like these people that supported me and saw something that other people did not. And also, by the way, I don't blame them. Like I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had no clue. And it wasn't if it wasn't for the people that helped me. Like I write about it. Like I didn't know that girls wore fake hair and fake eyelashes. I was like, oh, so this is how people look good. And I came in, and it was your homegirl, Sasha Banks, who helped me with a lot of that stuff and showed me how to do it and talked to me about weaves and things, you know? And I was like, oh, I get it. To get further, you need to be hairier. Great. I'll just turn into Bigfoot. Be main eventing in a year.
So I'm going to do a little audience question rapid fire here because we got some good ones. One audience member has asked, they said, you mentioned on Instagram that Mick Foley inspired you to get into wrestling and that he helped you regarding this memoir. How valuable has his advice been?
Oh, incredible. He sat on the phone with me for 6 hours one day, like just going through page by page by page, like, you should take that out. You should take that out. I would say this. Maybe you need to find a different way to say that. And even like down to stuff like commas and grammar and things like that. And I was like, well, I'm not going to write that down because
we all need an editor.
Yeah. I had an editor. I was like, she'll catch all that stuff. But like he was really thorough with everything that he went through.
Cool. Okay, we have another question. Who is the funniest person in the locker room? Other than yourself, of course.
Oh, God. I mean, our truth. Yeah, our truth is... Our truth is... Yeah.
What's your favorite match you ever had in your career?
I don't think there's just one. Like, there's a few. There's me and Trish Stratus in the steel cage. I love that. Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 38. Myself and Charlotte, last woman standing match. WrestleMania 38 or 32, Charlotte, Sasha, and me. Yeah, there's a few. There's like one random Raw match that I had with Asuka. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Very cool. Who's on your wrestling Mount Rushmore? What a great question, guys.
It's such a hard question. Seth Rollins. Like not even biased though, lads. He's just great. We'll all appreciate him in like 20 years, I'm telling you. Like he's just unbelievable. John Cena.
He's a local boy.
Yeah, he's also a local boy. Stone Cold Steve Austin. These are just going to sound very obvious. And The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And all for very different reasons, but I think just in sheer star value. There's different things. There's different Mount Rushmores. You got to talk about like wrestling Mount Rushmore. You got to talk about a star Mount Rushmore. You got to talk. There's a bunch of different Mount Rushmores. Pro Mount Rushmores. You know, it's just it's a whole thing.
Love this. Okay, so I'm going to change gears for a second.
You know what they need to do is they need to start adding more people to Mount Rushmore. You know, to make this question easier.
It's like the Roman Empire kind of thing.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. This is.
They can stick some more heads up there.
Okay, I'm going to change gears, and I want to talk about being a mom for a second. You talked about it a little bit earlier. Yep. So not only are you a superstar, but you are married to a superstar. We were just talking about Mr. Seth, and you recently became parents a few years ago. So this next clip that I want to play, I think, gives a pretty good sense of what it's like being in the ring with Seth.
That was fun.
What a power couple. So my question is, what is it like to create and maintain a family while both you and your husband are having these superstar moments in your career at the same time?
Oh, it's great. That's great. It's just great. Like, we're so lucky. We're so very lucky that we get to do it together, and then we have our family there right with us the whole time. It's amazing. And then being able to talk to each other about this and bounce ideas off each other. It's great.
But like, how do you juggle it?
You just do, you know,
like the mom answer.
But you just do, you know. It's not. It's like you feel guilty when you're at work that you should be with your kid, and then when you're with your kid, you feel guilty that you should be at work, and that's just the cycle. Just continues, and you just do it, you know. Like, I'm very lucky. I just get to do what I love, and then be with the people that I love. I'm very lucky, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm very lucky that I get to do what I do.
What do you hope your daughter learns as she watches you both go to work each night?
God. To apply yourself and to work hard at something. And that if you follow your dreams, you know, just the possibilities are endless.
How would you feel if she wanted to follow in your footsteps and become a WWE superstar?
That's the fun thing, is that I feel great.
And that is
you
an
know?
audience question, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no. I'd feel great. Like, if she wanted to. Like, when I told my mom that I wanted to be a wrestler, she was like, "You want to be what?" And but of course she would say that. Like, they were just doing mud wrestling matches in their underwear, and and now I'm like, yeah, go main event WrestleMania. Also, like, I used to hate them Nepo babies, and now I'm like, oh yeah, go on, little Nepo baby. We'll get you right in, right to the front. Triple H, she needs to be pushed. I won't.
So we do have another audience question. After knowing your husband for years, what made you finally fall for him romantically? And spoiler, it is covered in the book too, and I do enjoy like hearing about this whole trajectory.
He's real hot.
That was covered in the book, yeah.
Yeah, no, we were just both friends, but like simmering under the surface, you know. There was that energy, that little electric excitement that you'd always get so excited to talk to each other and see each other, and you wanted to be near each other, you know, long before anything happened. And then I was single, then he was single, and then, you know, one thing led to another. Here we are, married with a kid.
We have another audience question. Will you and Seth ever team up again and do a match against any other wrestlers?
I mean, yeah, we could, absolutely, because now I think on commentary they won't beat it to death that we're a real life married couple like they did at the time, and the stuff that we were doing before was just so like, I'd hate us, you know. I did hate us on TV. The way that it was portrayed was just so. Yeah, they were just, let's beat it down people's necks that they are a real life couple. But nowadays, I think we could have a lot of fun. I think we would just be a badass duo. And then, you know, if we were to have a mixed tag, there's Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. There's, you know, there's Charlotte Flair and Andrade. Like, if we're going couples, if we're going the real life couple route. Edge is in the other place. But if we could bring him back, you know, Edge and Beth, then yeah, there's just a bunch of people.
So you have like an amazing family. You have an amazing career. What happens when like all your dreams come true? What's next for you?
You make up some new ones. Yeah, there's just, man, we're alive. There's so much to do.
Do you have any new ones in mind?
Yeah.
That you want to share?
No.
It was worth a try, right?
Yeah. My publicist Lucy is out here, and we've been writing a movie on this tour about her life, and it's really good. I won't give you the premise, but I think if that happens, we're winning Oscars, baby. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do a couple more audience questions because I think quite a few were submitted. What is one of your favorite promos that you've ever done?
Oh, the one after SummerSlam, when I slapped Charlotte Flair. That was one of my favorites. There was like one random one on after Survivor Series in 2021 that I cut. On the fickleness of the audience, I was a heel. That I loved, and there was another one leading up to WrestleMania against against Bianca Belair, where I was sitting on a chair talking about what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul, and that I think they're some of the top ones. And then as well, the one that I cut on Monday is one of my favorites too, because it was with a lot of truth and a lot of passion.
Okay, we have another one. Was the punch to Dom real?
Oh,
As
yeah.
Monday Night Raw.
Yes. Yeah. I have this little like scab on my knuckle.
Ooh, she does. I can see it.
Mwah. Beautiful. I washed my hands straight after I touched his face, of course. Yeah. Beautiful. Just a little reminder.
I have a question. As a wrestling fan yourself, what are the wrestling storylines that you like watching the most?
What do you mean?
Like, what gets you excited when you are watching other people's matches? Or what promos that do you get the most jazzed about? Or who do you like watching the most other than, like, Seth, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm excited for Cody to finish the story. I don't know that there's a type, it kind of tends to be the same a lot of the but just in different ways, I hate you.
Yeah.
I hate you.
Can
Just
feel the tension.
Different variations of that, I like it when people don't like each other. That's my favorite. When there's conflict.
'Cause that makes
And a
the
good
fight
guy
better.
and a bad guy.
Okay, we have another audience question. Is it more fun to be a heel or a babyface?
Oh, it's so much more fun to be a heel. You can just do whatever you want. And like, if people cheer you, oh, I'm so good. And if people boo you, oh, I'm doing my job. It's just so great. But then you're a baby face and they're cheering you, and you're like, oh, I'm doing my job. And then they're booing you, and you're like, I suck. I suck.
Another audience question. Who is your number one dream match opponent?
Beth Phoenix, where are you? You've been hiding from me. Beth.
Another audience question. Can you name some of the loudest pops or ovations you have ever gotten and where?
Gosh, Dublin, Ireland would be pretty high up there. WrestleMania 35, Santiago, Chile. Like I suppose there's some different ones. Yeah, I don't know what the big one. Probably that one when you showed the 3-hour long clip.
Oh, yeah.
That was a pretty good one. Yeah.
You had to get it all, right? Yeah. And then another audience question. We already got that one. My bad. Question from me. Imposter syndrome we talked about a little bit, and we talked about your kind of like fired up attitude when someone tells you you can't do this, that you're not good enough. Your answer is like, watch me.
Yeah.
Where do you think this love of a challenge comes from?
God?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's being underestimated and doubted, and like I was bullied when I was a little kid, and it just made me feel really bad. And then it started to be like, oh well, screw them. I don't have to believe what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they get to be right? I want to be right. I'm gonna be right. Yeah.
We have another audience question. We've had a couple about some of your favorite foods. So the first one would be like, what's your favorite food from American cuisine?
What counts as a cheeseburger?
Yeah, that can count.
Yeah, I was gonna say French fries, but that.
Well, that's
it's gone
also
in the name, really.
It's falling under the next one of what's your favorite junk food as well.
Chocolate. I'm a big chocolate person. not your American chocolate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, come on.
It's shite, as you would
It
say.
is shite.
Yeah.
And just they're so good at everything. They're so good at everything, you know?
Another audience question. How would you describe the appeal of WWE to someone who doesn't get it?
Oh, it's everything, man. It is excitement, it is comedy, it is romance, it is adrenaline, it is anything can happen at any moment. And then it's and it's storytelling told the most interesting way possible through violence. It's beautiful. And it's live. It's
Yes.
live theater
Live theater is
where people punch each other.
art and athleticism. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Another audience question. What is your favorite thing that being a WWE superstar has allowed you to do that you probably wouldn't have been able to do otherwise?
Get a hot ass husband. Yeah.
That's a good answer. Yeah, that's great. I wanted to just give you a chance if you had more. But what advice can you, and this is another audience question, what advice can you give to a young girl trying to get into pro wrestling business or who wants to eventually later in life get into it?
Oh, just apply yourself. Watch it, study it, try to understand it. Find a great wrestling school, go, train really hard, work on your fitness, work on your promos. Get yourself a look that distinguishes you or find a persona, a character, and then think about it lots. That's it. That's your formula. You're off to the races.
Question from me now about the book writing process. What was your favorite part of that process, and what was your least favorite part? As someone who has experienced writer's block many times before.
Oh, my least favorite part. It was just like the frustrations. You know what I mean? When you get to a spot and you're like, I don't know, how do I talk about this? Is this interesting? Is it? But I liked the process of writing. Like I loved that. I loved it. I loved sitting down. And like, especially when there was a deadline and you had to have something, I loved that because it was just that urgency and that adrenaline that I'm kind of used to working under. And so it was probably like the proofreading part where you're just reading and you're like, yeah, I thought this was great. You know, and you have to go back and read it and find out that it wasn't so great. And then you have to make it great. Maybe that part, you know, but the free writing, oh, I love that part.
Great. And in terms of how long it took to write, because I feel, can you tell a little bit about just like what that process is like?
God, like I started putting stuff down on paper in 2020 and I would just write, but it wasn't like good. And I didn't think like this isn't for people to see yet. And I think that's a very important part of the process. Like the first part where you just have to be writing just pure word vomit, pure crap, whatever just comes out, at least you get into the habit and the process. But then I would stop and I'd get busy and then the restarting was always the hardest part. It's like, you know, when you haven't gone to the gym in a while and the first day there you're like, ugh, and then the second day and then by the first week you're fine, you're back in. But it was not having a deadline, I think, really hindered me a little bit. And then when I got one, then we were kind of off to the races. And I kind of rewrote the whole thing in about 5 weeks.
That's impressive. And a lot of this book came from your journal entries as well. Can you talk a little bit to us about just the importance of journaling and writing for you before even this was a kind of flicker in your eye?
Yeah, like when I was 5 years old, my dad told me you should always keep a journal. And it was when we were going to get some sweets after Mass on a Sunday. And he was like, when I was younger, sweets cost 1 penny and now they cost 30p. And he was like, it would have been interesting to keep track of that. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. My sweets cost. And that's how I started. But over the course of my life, I think a journal, because I spent the majority of it quite poor. My journal became my therapist, and any doubts and insecurities that I had, I'd like write them down. And so they're very embarrassing, and I hope nobody ever reads them. But and then I would like pep talk my way out of a hole, you know, and so it became a thing, like a non-judgmental ear that I had at all times. And so yeah, it helped me. It helped me also just in the process of just writing, that you can just write. And
I'm so glad that you mentioned your dad. He's a presence in your book and had a big mark in your life. And with next weekend being such a big event for you, just what would you think he would think of all of this right now, where you are and where you're at?
I think he'd be so proud of the book and what I wrote. I think he really loved that. And I was really trying to get it done before he passed away. And then when he did, then it took me a little while before I could write again too. Yeah, I think he'd be very proud. He'd be very proud of me and sorry. And the mother that I've become. And I think he'd love my daughter and her uniqueness, and yeah, I think he'd be happy.
Yeah. I would give you a tissue if I had one. But I think you would be proud too. I'm going to end this on one last audience question that I think is really lovely.
Let me tell a joke.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that Dublin's the biggest city in the world? It keeps doubling and doubling and doubling.
My dad is in the audience, and I bet he loved that one. Okay, this is one last audience question for you. In an industry that is always evolving, what is one thing about wrestling that you hope never changes?
The energy of the audience. Yeah, the energy of the audience, man. You're the reason that we do it. You're the third scene partner. Like, you are as big of a part of it as the wrestlers are, and your energy and your enthusiasm and everything that you bring, your passion, like, it's why we do it. And I think that's why the pandemic was so hard for so many of us. That's why I peaced out. I was like, oh, I see an opening. Yeah, that passion that you bring, you know, and you love it, and you think about it, and you think about how it can be better, and that's great. That's awesome. Never lose that.
We had fans out here lining up at like 4 p.m. for this 6:30 event, so we have some dedicated people here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here to chat with me, answer questions from these amazing fans.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure.